Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Elson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. Pope Francis continued his series of audience talks on the Mass in the Vatican's Paul VI Hall, which was decorated with a large Christmas tree and a life-size nativity scene. In his catechesis, the Pope responded to the question of why it is so important to go to Mass on Sundays. But before he began his audience, the Pope made his way around the hall, receiving well wishes for the anniversary of his priesthood, as well as his birthday, which is December 17th.
Just like every Wednesday, before the general audience, the Pope met with countless pilgrims. One young woman from the United States handed him a handwritten letter. Soon after, this group of Mexican students gave him a cake to commemorate 48 years since his priestly ordination. One from the group told the Pope to specially greet a young group of future priests. Additionally, the Pope blessed the child in the womb of this pregnant woman. The Pope's greetings and blessings led to some painful moments, but they were also beautiful moments. Then in the catechesis, the Pope explained why it's necessary to go to Mass on Sundays.
La celebración de la Eucaristía Dominical da sentido a toda la semana y nos recuerda también, con el descanso de nuestras ocupaciones, que no somos esclavos sino hijos de un Padre que nos invita constantemente a poner la esperanza en Él.
The Pope also responded to Catholics who think going to Mass is not necessary and that being good people and trying to love others is good enough.
Por desgracia, para muchos la misa del domingo ha perdido sentido. Piensan que basta ser buenos y amar. Esto es necesario, pero no es posible sin la ayuda del Señor, sin obtener de Él la fuerza para conseguirlo. En la Eucaristía recibimos del Señor lo que más necesitamos. Él mismo se nos da como alimento y nos anima a seguir caminando.
Looking now at news from around the country, a recent Pew Research Center survey finds that Americans who see Christmas as a religious holiday continues to slide across nearly all demographic lines. In the new poll conducted between November 28th and December 4th, 55% said they mark Christmas as a religious holiday. The figure in 2013, when Pew last asked this question, was 59%. The survey also found that 9 in 10 U.S. adults say they celebrate the holiday, which is nearly identical to the share who said this in 2013. About 8 in 10 will gather with family and friends, and half say they plan to attend church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Those numbers are roughly the same as those of 2013. In terms of Catholics in the poll, 65% of Catholics said they celebrate Christmas as a religious holiday. That's down from 68% in a 2013 survey. And 51% see it as more religious than cultural, and that's down from 59%. According to the survey, 68% of Catholics said they would go to church, and that's down from 76%. There was one increase for Catholics in the poll. 89% said they would gather with family and friends, and that's up from 85% from the last poll. In other news from the Vatican, at the Vatican this past week, Pope Francis was presented with a gift of a Pope-mobile. This was one of the vehicles the Pope used during his visit to Mexico in February of 2016. The gift marked the 25th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Mexico and the Holy See.
This was one of the Pope-mobiles Pope Francis used in Mexico. Now, Mexico has given it to the Pope. The Holy Father greeted the delegation in charge of presenting the gift and those who work each year to add some special flavor to Christmas at the Vatican.
Santo Padre, ellos son los que han trabajado en la Navidad mexicana en el Vaticano durante 10 años. Hoy cumplimos 10 años. Padre. 10 años. ¿Sí?
Christmas in Rome always has a taste of Mexico. For 10 years now, different states from the country bring typical crafts from their areas to the Vatican. What they delivered this time was far from small. Tuesday was the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and the Vatican went all out. It's unclear whether Pope Francis will use this Pope-mobile for his weekly visits to the square to greet pilgrims. The hope is that he'll enjoy the gift as much as he did during the visit to Mexico.
And finally in the news, Monsignor Dario Vignano, prefect of the Secretariat for Communication, announced this past week that it will launch its new multimedia communications website, vaticannews.va, in beta form in the coming days. The announcement came the day after Monsignor Vignano presented the site to Pope Francis and his International Council of Cardinals and explained to the Council the progress made in unifying the various Vatican media. According to a statement from Monsignor Vignano, eventually the Multimedia Center will include about 350 employees drawn from the 40 language programs of the former Vatican Radio and from the 9 institutions, the radio, Vatican newspaper, Vatican Television Production Center, Vatican Printing Press, etc., that now form part of the Secretariat. The Multimedia Center will begin its work with 70 people working in 6 languages: Italian, English, French, German, Spanish, and Portuguese. They will focus on 4 areas: the Pope, the Vatican, the Church, and the world. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date with Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.